Hello, everybody. Welcome to the monthly sustainability roundup for February, where we explore key research, trends, and insights that have come up within the last few months and that will affect sustainable procurement and sustainability policy for UK government and private sector moving forward. So, thank you so much for joining us today and really looking forward to sharing about what these insights are and looking forward to entertaining your questions as well. I'm just pulling up my notes on screen here. So firstly, we'll be covering human rights and modern slavery. Just an introduction to myself. My name is Ewan. I am a lead consultant at ValleyMatch. I'm responsible for the human rights strategy at ValleyMatch, as well as taking the charge on some of our consulting services, particularly around helping sustainability strategies for schools, as well as small and medium enterprises looking to enter into public sector. Human rights, modern slavery is particularly my specialism as well. So we'll jump straight into this section first. So to start off first, we focus right now on child trafficking and exploitation and synthesizing research from multiple studies funded by the Modern Slavery and Human Rights Policy and Evidence Center. So the findings from this report actually provide critical insights into how child exploitation occurs, gaps in current prevention efforts as well as recommendations for improving support and safeguarding mechanisms. So this report was actually presented about a month or so ago by the Policy and Evidence Center, highlighting the gaps that specifically need to be addressed, especially for special education needs students, and to ensure that they are supported in school, which can reduce the vulnerability to exploitation. So this type of research will be really relevant to the practice of multi-academy trusts in the UK. The NHS has also just published draft guidance for mitigating modern slavery within its own supply chains. The public consultation for the draft closed on 13th of February, a couple weeks ago. However, some of the main highlights of it are that if it goes through, that certain things will be in place, like the NHS will have to conduct risk assessment before procurements and determine the level of oversight needed based on whether the procurement is deemed low, medium, or high. Risk assessments will also have to be conducted more regularly, so every 2 years at least or more frequently. And the more frequent cases are in the case where a procurement for a similar good or service comes through and a risk profile has changed from that process, or if certain things have been flagged by adverse media reporting. Finally, it also increases a lot more of the uniformity of standards being carried out across the NHS supply chains from PPN 0223. We'll address that later, but the key thing here is for suppliers that want to join the NHS or who are already appointed to frameworks through the NHS. The aspect of repeated risk assessments for existing frameworks means that suppliers that are already appointed before this will need to undergo due diligence procedures and risk checks as they go through the life cycle of the framework. So at the moment, this is still draft guidance. We don't know how much of it will come through, but the direction is very clear. NHS is starting to take modern slavery due diligence a lot more seriously, and we really need to be paying attention. So to do with climate change and environment, the UK government has actually just received its 7th carbon budget for 2038 to 2042. This is advice from the Climate Change Committee. So this budget will actually cap emissions at about 535 megatons of CO2 equivalents over 5 years. And this is really a crucial milestone in the UK's legally binding pathway to net zero by 2050. So the report outlines electrification as the dominant driver of emissions reduction, with electric vehicles, heat pumps, and industry electrification making up 60% of the required planned cuts. So this will really require a fully decarbonized and expanded electricity grid, as to ensure stable energy supply for businesses and public sector organizations. So while progress is accelerating, the sectors that are facing the biggest challenges include surface transport, buildings and industry, and these will significantly need to cut emissions through clean technology adoption. Unfortunately, aviation and agriculture will still remain quite high emitting sectors, so this will require things like sustainable aviation fuels, carbon removal, and land use shifts to achieve long-term reduction. So in addition, technological solutions, the budget does highlight the role of carbon capture and storage and nature-based removal. So things like tree planting, peatland restoration, and balanced to balance out hard-to-abate emissions. So the policy shift aligns with the Procurement Act 2023, which reinforces low carbon procurement as a requirement across public sector supply chains. So schools, multi-academy trusts, and suppliers must be complying with stricter carbon reduction targets, particularly in areas like facilities management, IT, and transportation contracts. So with procurement acting as a very key lever for sustainability, organizations bidding for government-funded contracts must demonstrate clear carbon reduction plans to meet net zero by 2050 and align with those goals to remain competitive in the market. So regarding circular economy, next we're focusing on the UK government's latest policy update on simpler recycling in England. This initiative actually aims to create a consistent, easy to understand recycling system across households, businesses, and public sector organizations like schools and hospitals per se. The policy is really designed to standardize collections, improve recycling rates especially, and to support the transition to a circular economy. Simpler recycling aims to make recycling easier, more effective, and aligned with net zero goals. And this is done through eliminating confusion, standardizing the collections, and the policy is really set to improve recycling rates, reduce waste, and create a more sustainable future. So for businesses, local authorities, and public institutions, the next step really is ensuring smooth implementation in line with upcoming deadlines with this policy. For those working in waste management, procurement, or environmental policy, really understanding these changes will be crucial to adapting to the new system in a really smooth fashion. Regarding inclusivity and diversity. So recent research from Ambition Institute highlights a growing concern, which is around pupil engagement and motivation having declined, particularly post-pandemic, with attendance rates dropping and classroom disruption rising. So to tackle this, we need to look beyond traditional intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. The key really is internalized motivation, where pupils see value in their learning. So this is driven, the report outlines that this is driven by three key psychosocial needs. So competence, pupils need to feel capable, relatedness, they need to feel a sense of belonging that boosts engagement, and autonomy, which is that pupils need to perform better when they feel they have ownership over their learning. So practical strategies for schools include structured scaffolding, fostering strong teacher-pupil relationships, and explaining the real-world relevance of learning tasks. So by focusing on these key areas, schools can really start to improve attendance and academic outcomes and overall student well-being, which are incredibly, incredibly important. So the next report is findings from the Girls Speak report, which captures the lived experience of girls aged between 6 to 16 in the UK today. So through direct conversations with girls, the report highlights the tensions that they face between growing expectations of gender equality and the persistent stereotypes and pressures that shape their daily lives. Despite progress in gender equality, girls today still face significant pressure that influences their confidence, their choices, and their well-being. So the report really underscores the importance of early intervention, which is to create safe spaces where girls can freely explore their identities without fear of judgment or restriction. So schools, parents, and communities all really play a really crucial role in shaping a future where girls not only believe that they can do anything, but they're truly empowered to do so. So moving on to the topic of procurement. So the National Procurement Policy Statement has just come out, and it sets the strategic direction for public procurement in the UK. So suppliers, public organizations will really need to pay attention to this. So this policy statement aligns procurement with the government's long-term economic and social goals, whilst ensuring that every pound spent delivers value for money. So value for money is really the priority that's at the heart of this policy, which is around ensuring that procurement delivers maximum public benefit. So it's not just about choosing the cheapest bid. It's about balancing cost, quality, and long-term outcomes for community and for sustainability and the environment. So, and really to prevent wasteful spending and drive real impact. The policy does also reinforce the importance of giving small businesses and social enterprises a fair chance in public procurement. And they are going to be doing this through increasing opportunities for these suppliers, which will strengthen UK supply chains, encourage innovation, and create high quality jobs locally. Uh, Sustainability is also really now a key factor in procurement decisions. This has been done in the past, but is being emphasized again. Contracts should actively contribute to net zero targets, promoting fair working conditions, and ensure that suppliers uphold ethical labor practices. Procurement is not just about buying, it's really about using buying to make a key difference. And to make these ambitions a reality, procurement teams must have the right skills and tools. Authorities are encouraged to adopt best practices, improve contract management, and engage with suppliers strategically to drive better performance. So there's also a new requirement that ensures that before outsourcing, authorities must assess whether delivering services in-house would be more cost-effective and beneficial to the public. This prevents, a lot of unnecessary outsourcing where better value could be achieved internally. And in terms of transparency and accountability, public procurement spending will now be under even greater scrutiny with enhanced oversight on contract performance and framework pricing. This really ensures that spending is justified and that suppliers are providing real value without excessive and heavy markups. So authorities are really going to be encouraged as well to work together through joint procurement arrangements to reduce duplication, cut costs, and improve efficiency. By leveraging collective buying power, we can really start driving better outcomes across the public sector procurement space. So this new policy is about using public sector buying power to drive economic growth, social value, and sustainability. So as these changes take effect, organizations will really need to be adapting their procurement strategies to align with these priorities and maximize their impact. So with the Procurement Act 2023 going to be coming out soon, the government has updated a lot of their procurement policy notes. And so the government has updated this one as well, which is around modern slavery in public sector supply chains. So from 24th of February this year, all central government bodies must follow the new procurement policy note, or PPN 0925, which is what this is called. This PPN introduces stricter measures for high-risk industries and really identifies commodities like cotton, personal protective equipment, or PPE, and polysilicon as high-risk sectors that require greater scrutiny and compliance. So suppliers that are working in these areas or commodities must now provide detailed supply chain risk mapping to demonstrate ethical sourcing practice. To support this as well, public sector buyers must apply enhanced due diligence, including supplier audits and exclusion criteria where risks cannot be mitigated. These changes align with the Procurement Act 2023 and reinforces ethical procurement standards. For the education sector, this means schools, academies, and suppliers must ensure compliance, particularly for contracts involving uniforms, IT equipment, and outsourced services. Suppliers bidding for government contracts must now demonstrate greater transparency and proactive risk management to remain eligible for being a supplier. These changes really do reflect a growing emphasis on ethical procurement and ensuring that public sector spending does not contribute to modern slavery, which is incredibly important. The government has also enforced its commitment to supporting small businesses and social enterprises through public sector procurement. So from April this year, all central government departments and public bodies must set a 3-year target for SME procurement and a 2-year target for VCSEs. To ensure accountability, spend data will be published annually, with the first report due by 30th of September this year. Departments must also secure ministerial approval for their SME spend targets, reinforcing the importance of engaging smaller suppliers in public contracts. So several reforms under the Procurement Act coming make it easier for SMEs to access government contracts, including reduced bid complexity, earlier market engagement, and removing unnecessary pre-contract insurance requirements. In addition, 30-day payment terms will now apply across all levels of the supply chain, which improves cash flow for smaller suppliers and really helps with their financial well-being. For education suppliers, this means more opportunities for SMEs and VCSEs like yourselves in key areas such as facilities management, catering, IT, and outsourced services. So public sector buyers will be expected to remove barriers and increase engagement with smaller suppliers when awarding contracts. So with procurement spending now under greater scrutiny, these changes aim to level the playing field and ensure more public sector investment goes into small businesses and community-driven enterprises. Regarding carbon reduction, the UK government continues to push sustainability in procurement and reinforces its commitment to net zero by 2050. From the 24th of February this year again, all suppliers bidding for government contracts over £5 million per year must submit a carbon reduction plan, or CRP, as part of the procurement process. This requirement applies across all central government departments, agencies, and public bodies. So the CRP must outline current emissions data, planned carbon reduction initiatives, and a commitment to achieving net zero. The policy specifically targets contracts with high environmental impact, including those involving transport, buildings, and resource consumption. By embedding carbon reduction into procurement decisions, the government is ensuring that suppliers are actively working towards net zero goals. So this really aligns with, once again, Procurement Act 2023 and reinforces the role of environmental impact as a key procurement factor. Suppliers must publish their CRPs publicly and review them annually to remain compliant. So for education sector, this means suppliers providing IT, catering, facilities management, and transportation services must demonstrate carbon reduction efforts. Schools and multi-academy trusts engaging in government-funded procurement must ensure that their suppliers comply. Ultimately, this policy does solidify sustainability as a non-negotiable factor in public procurement, and so ensuring that the supply chain actively contributes to net zero ambition is really key here moving forward. So the UK government also continues to embed social value at the heart of public procurement. So from October this year, all central government departments must apply the updated social value model, which requires bidders to demonstrate clear economic, social, and environmental benefits in their proposal. The key change is the introduction of a minimum 10% weighting for social value in tender evaluations. So this means bidders will not only compete on price and quality, but also have to show how they deliver community benefits, sustainability initiatives, and local economic growth. To ensure accountability, any social value commitments made must be included in contracts as a key performance indicator or other enforceable measures. This will really ensure that suppliers are following through on their promises. And public procurement will also become more accessible with SMEs and VCSEs, as we said before, with contracting authorities being required to reduce participation barriers and support diverse supply chains. Additionally, for contracts that create new jobs, roles must be advertised through local job centres and the government's Find a Job portal. This update aligns with the Procurement Act, reinforces a mission-led approach that ensures public spending delivers tangible social and economic value beyond just service delivery. So for the education sector, this means suppliers in areas like, once again, catering, IT, facilities management, and construction as well must now demonstrate measurable social impact within their bids. Schools and multi-academy trusts in England will need to start embedding social value requirements into their procurement strategies. So this is a major shift towards using procurement as a tool for positive change and ensuring that public contracts contribute to a more sustainable and inclusive economy. So moving on to the section to do with education, the education sector at the moment faces significant financial pressure and requiring smarter procurement approaches to drive efficiency and cost saving. So our analysis of £550 million in school spend across 42,000 suppliers highlights major inefficiencies, including too many suppliers, fragmented spending, and missed opportunities for bulk purchasing. To address this, school trusts should really target at least 5% in annual savings, while also ensuring procurement delivers sustainability, social value, and improved supplier performance. So short-term tactical actions for immediate impact can include quick wins that are like consolidating suppliers, managing demand more effectively, and leveraging refurbished or recycled products to cut cost without compromising on quality. So looking beyond short-term fixes, schools need a structured procurement strategy linked to trust-wide objectives. So that's, embedding sustainability, social value, and contract management best practice ensures long-term efficiency in procurement. Regular benchmarking of contract prices and supplier performance is essential to maintaining value for money. Many school trusts actually fail to review existing contracts and potentially are overpaying for services and products. So keep that in mind. One thing that helps as well is that our best value frameworks and sustainable and ethical dynamic purchasing system, or DPS, provides a pre-approved supplier agreements, ensures faster, more compliant, and cost-effective procurement without the need for lengthy tenders. So if you're interested in that, please do get in touch. So by taking a proactive and planned approach, school trusts can really unlock significant financial and operational benefits. Procurement is really more than just cost cutting. It's about maximizing impact, ensuring ethical supply chains, and delivering the best outcomes for students through procurement. Next, we're going to be looking at a significant legislative update, which is the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill 2024 to 2025. So this bill introduces key reforms aimed at strengthening child safeguarding, improving support for care leavers, and making schools more inclusive and accessible. So this has implications both for social care and education, and also impacts local authorities, schools, and families across England. So the bill marks a major step forward in improving child protection, education, and social care outcomes. So from ensuring better oversight of safeguarding efforts to making schools more inclusive and accessible, these changes are really designed to support children and young people at every stage of their development. So as this bill progresses, local authorities, schools, and service providers will need to prepare for its implementation to ensure a smooth transition. So with that, I realize that was a lot of content. Our next session for the monthly sustainability roundup will be March 26th, where we'll be exploring the latest trends, best practice, news, and insights from across the world and in the UK. So join us on the 26th at the same time. So with the session starting to come to a conclusion, be happy to field any potential questions that anyone may have. All right. No worries at all. If there's no questions, that's not a problem. But moving on from that, my name is Ewan Chan. I'm a lead consultant. If you'd like to get in touch to see how we can support your business or for collaboration, please feel free to get in touch via LinkedIn or via the email on screen. But apart from that, thank you very much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you all next month.